milk, the nectar of the gods, the food of the young. The strength of the old. Soon, it will be the power of a nation. Today, India is the world's largest producer of milk. With rapid urbanization, evolving tastes, and growing incomes, India's demand for milk is rising rapidly. By 2021-2022, the demand is projected to be around 200 million tons. Even as India needs more milk, the younger generation of milk producers are seeking an alternative livelihood. To ensure milk producers don't move out, dairying must become a more remunerative enterprise. To meet the rapidly growing demand, India's annual incremental milk production will need to double over the next 15 years. For this, India needs a paradigm shift. A scientifically planned, multi-state initiative. India needs another milk revolution. Launching the National Dairy Plan's Mission Milk. The next revolution. The aim of the National Dairy Plan is to firstly increase productivity of milch animals and raise milk production, and secondly, provide rural milk producers with greater access to the organized milk processing sector. A carefully defined strategy is central to the success of any mission. The first phase of the National Dairy Plan, covering 6 years, has a two-pronged strategy. First, increase productivity through scientific breeding and feeding. And second, promote and strengthen village-based milk procurement systems. Proven science and technology will need to be taken to the farmers to increase milk animal productivity. This is possible if we apply scientific processes and standard operating procedures, or SOPs, for breeding and feeding, and use the tools of information technology to capture and analyze data. Every mission needs an army. Small milk producers were the face of the first milk revolution. The heroes of the National Dairy Plan will now be India's cows and buffaloes. When bred through artificial insemination, or AI, the semen of a few top bulls of high genetic merit of different breeds can be used over a much larger population. To accelerate genetic progress, coverage of breedable population under AI needs to increase from the current 20% to 35%. The high genetic merit bulls required will need to be produced through progeny testing and pedigree selection programs following set SOPs. The first phase of the National Dairy Plan, covering 6 years, aims to produce 2,500 high genetic merit bulls of various milk breeds required by all A or B graded semen stations in the country. These bulls will be produced by organizations with experience in bull production. The breeds identified for bull production include both indigenous breeds with which our country is blessed and exotic breeds from pure Holstein Friesian and Jersey to Holstein Friesian and Jersey crossbreeds, Murrah, Mehsana, Jafrabadi, Nilli Ravi, Bunny and Pandharpuri buffaloes, Rathi, Kankraj, Gir, Thaparkar, Haryana and Sahiwal cows. Widespread genetic progress will be possible only through additional supply of high-quality, disease-free semen. The annual production of high-quality, disease-free semen from high genetic merit bulls will have to increase from the present 65 million doses to 100 million doses. Given the existing and emerging diseases prevalent in the country which cause enormous economic loss, stringent biosecurity measures need to be put in place in the bull production and semen production areas to produce disease-free semen. State governments will need to notify these areas as disease control areas and ensure regular vaccination and monitoring. Identify vaccinated animals through ear tagging and strengthen disease diagnostic laboratories. While government breeding programs such as the National Project on Cattle and Buffalo Breeding will continue to fund the expansion of doorstep AI delivery services, many more professional service providers will need to be encouraged to provide AI services. It needs to be ensured that AI is done by trained technicians, following laid-down SOPs and the breeding policy of the state. These initiatives will help in achieving targets and improve conception rates. A pilot program for AI delivery will be implemented under the National Dairy Plan to demonstrate a viable and sustainable AI delivery service model. SOPs will be followed, which will include ear tagging, capturing data on AI, pregnancy diagnosis, and calving. The AI service would be charged to cover the full cost. Balanced nutrition is vital to harness the genetic potential of a milch animal. An imbalanced ration not only impacts the health and productivity of the animals, it eats into the farmer's income, as 70% of the total cost of milk production is contributed by feed. The National Dairy Development Board, also referred to as NDDB, has created a library of data on the nutrients available in commonly fed feed and fodder ingredients and the nutrient requirements of various categories of dairy animals across the country. Using this data, a simple, user-friendly software for the formulation of the least-cost, balanced ration has been developed. Local resource persons, also known as LRPs in the villages, will be trained to use this software to advise farmers at their doorstep on ration balancing. They will also advise farmers on the use of field-tested technologies such as bypass protein, bypass fat, area-specific mineral mixtures, treated or enriched crop residues, etc. All of which leads to enhanced milk production. Under the National Dairy Plan, about 2.7 million milch animals in 40,000 villages will be covered by 40,000 local resource persons, who would be supervised by staff in existing dairy cooperatives and producer companies. Livestock contributes 50% of the country's methane emissions. Field data shows that feeding animals with a balanced ration can help reduce methane emissions by at least 10%. Green fodder is an economic source of nutrients. With limited land under green fodder, quality seeds of improved high-yielding varieties will be propagated, and technologies for enrichment and silage making will be popularized. Critical to the success of the National Dairy Plan is capturing data on a real-time basis for analysis and timely feedback to stakeholders. NDDB has developed a software application, Information Network for Animal Productivity and Health, INAH, which enables the collection and analysis of data related to animal breeding, nutrition, and health activities. This will improve efficiency, accountability, and transparency at every stage. Ear tagging of every animal is a prerequisite to using this application. While science and technology come together to increase milk production, reduce feeding costs, and methane emissions, a concurrent objective of the National Dairy Plan is to expand milk producers' institutions, which will ensure efficiency, fairness, and transparency at the village level. The National Dairy Plan will promote and strengthen village-based milk procurement systems. Currently, cooperatives collect about 16% of the marketable milk surplus, covering only 21% of the villages and 18% of milk-producing households. The National Dairy Plan will encourage existing cooperatives to expand milk procurement to cover many more villages and milk producers. NDDB will facilitate the setting up of producer companies or new generation cooperatives in areas not covered by cooperatives or where they have a marginal presence. As the milk procured by the organized sector grows, it is hoped that the cooperatives would continue to maintain their 50% share. Critical to the success of this ambitious mission is trained and professional manpower. The National Dairy Plan would provide support and fund capacity building of personnel at all levels. It has been projected that about 60,000 personnel would require training or reorientation. Many more women will be encouraged and trained to actively participate to take on leadership roles. The National Dairy Plan will focus on 14 major dairying states, which account for more than 90% of India's milk production, have 87% of the breedable cattle and buffalo population, and 98% of the country's feed and fodder resources. However, the benefits of the improved genetics would reach milk producers across the country. The National Dairy Plan was prepared by the Department of Animal Husbandry, Dairying and Fisheries and NDDB. A series of consultations with state governments and other stakeholders have also been held. The World Bank, through the International Development Association, has agreed to provide financial assistance for the first phase, covering 6 years, with an outlay of 2,242 crore rupees, which primarily focuses on increasing productivity. The implementation of the National Dairy Plan would commence in those states that have either undertaken the key policy and regulatory measures required or agree to do so within a stipulated time. And implementing agencies in these states could include dairy cooperatives, producer companies, livestock development boards, central breeding and fodder institutes, registered societies and trusts, Section 25 companies, subsidiaries of statutory bodies, ICAR institutes, research institutes, and universities. EIAs will need to fulfill the eligibility criteria laid down for different activities and agree to adhere to the SOPs laid down. The implementation arrangement will consist of a National Steering Committee headed by Secretary, Department of Animal Husbandry, Dairying and Fisheries, Government of India, which will provide policy and strategic support. A Project Steering Committee headed by the Mission Director, which will approve plans and monitor progress. And a Project Management Unit, PMU, located in NDDB, which will manage implementation of the project. It is hoped that the National Dairy Plan will put in place a scientific approach and systematic processes which should lead the country onto the path of improved genetics and improved feeding practices, making prudent use of feed resources whilst improving the quality of milk. All of which will contribute to strengthening the livelihood of millions of smallholder milk producers that form the backbone of our industry. But for the National Dairy Plan to be successful, it requires focus and commitment by not just one, but all stakeholders. Let us ensure that India continues to be self-sufficient. Let us make our milk producers take pride in their increasingly productive animals. Let's make National Dairy Plan's Mission Milk a reality.